My little boy. Y'all kill my little son. I made me cry this morning, boy.
BWay Yungy was out celebrating his brother's very first track release when the night took a wild turn. Reports started flying that gunshots broke out, and soon after, YB was caught on camera looking shaken and emotional. People online are already talking, saying whatever he's planning next might flip the whole game upside down. Blood in, blood out, and this time it's about BWay Yungy. Yungy just got out the feds and wasted no time dropping his debut song. But the celebration didn't last long. The same ops who've been chasing YoungBoy for years popped up again, making it clear they still got issues with the entire crew. BWay Yungy ain't some random trying to ride his brother's fame. That's real blood right there. And when your blood runs with BWay Yungy, you don't need to ask for trouble. It finds you every single time. Around February 20th, 2026, BWay Yungy came out swinging with a new joint called In This B, his first track since touching back down from a bid. The song hit hard with that raw, drill-heavy vibe you'd expect from someone who grew up in the same trenches as YoungBoy. Pure street talk, chest-out confidence, and bars full of hunger. You could feel he had a lot sitting on his chest, and this track was his way of letting it all out. Clips of the song started flooding social media within hours. Hip-hop blogs caught wind and began posting about it non-stop, even though it hadn't fully broken into the mainstream yet. But what really had everyone talking wasn't just the song, it was the timing. Because Yungy didn't come home to peace. He came home straight into chaos. His brother, BWay Yungy, government name Kentrell Golden, has been tangled in one of the most ruthless beefs the rap game's ever seen. And this isn't your regular two rappers tossing subs online type of feud. Nah, this one cuts deep into families, brothers, and anybody close enough to scream NBA. Before that track even hit the net, BWay Yungy was already knee-deep in heat from a reported second-degree murder charge tied to late January 2026. The legal trouble came before the music, and the music dropped before everything else started crumbling. That's how fast things spin out when your bloodline traces back to YoungBoy. But to really see why just one song could throw Yungy right back into danger, you gotta understand how tight that bond between those two brothers really runs. This story goes way deeper than a rapper, and his day one from the block, this is about real brothers, bound by blood and loyalty. In an interview, BWay Yungy got asked straight up about his relationship with BWay Yungy. And at first, he kept it simple but powerful.
And talk to me about your relationship with your brother.
With my brother? That's my brother.
He just said, "That's my brother." No extra words, no explanations, and that alone hit hard. But when the interviewer pushed a little more, Yungy opened up in a way nobody expected.
Is it a close relationship that you have as well, yeah?
Man, we got a close relationship. He more like a father, but a brother at the same time.
He said YoungBoy wasn't just a brother to him, he was like a father and a brother all in one. That's when the room got quiet and he explained why.
See, I never had a father, that's why I respect him the way I do.
I guess BWay.
Yungy never had a dad around, so YoungBoy stepped up and filled that space like a real one would. That's not just music ties or label business. That's deep, real-life family energy right there. That right there is more than just love. That's a lifeline. That's a young man who grew up without a father figure, holding on to his big brother as the one person who kept him grounded when life tried to knock him down. When the interviewer asked how it felt knowing his brother's one of the biggest rappers on earth, BWay Yungy didn't flex about mansions, diamond chains, or streaming numbers. Not at all. Instead, he spoke from the heart about what it really meant to him. Pure motivation.
He's potentially the biggest rap star in the world. That must be a surreal feeling for you as well.
It's motivation. Especially knowing where we come from.
Especially knowing the kind of struggle they crawled out of together. Two brothers straight out of Baton, Rouge, raised with nothing but grit and survival instinct. No safety net, no handouts, no silver spoon, just determination and pain pushing them forward. Where they come from, even making it to 18 feels like beating the odds. And YoungBoy didn't just survive it, he dominated it, turning himself into one of the most streamed artists in the world. For BWay Yungy, that wasn't some far-off celebrity dream. That was his big brother showing him the real-life blueprint for turning struggle into power. YoungBoy didn't just lead from afar. He lit that fire in his little brother's chest himself. He gave him that direct push, that real brother-to-brother motivation.
Has he given you much advice as well on your music and how to steer your career?
He always remind me that I'm the sickest.
He always tells me I'm the sickest, BWay Yungy said, talking about how YoungBoy kept hyping him up, reminding him nonstop that he's got it, that he goes crazy on the mic, that he's that dude.
That basically means like, I go hard, like, I'm that thing. He always remind me that.
Those words stuck deep. So when BWay finally came home from his bid and dropped In This B, it wasn't some random upload for clout. Nah, it was a statement. He was doing exactly what his brother told him he was built to do. Yungy was stepping into the lane YoungBoy had carved out for him, trying to build his own name, his own money, his own lane. In a game where just having YoungBoy in your circle can be both the biggest blessing and the hardest curse. Because being BWay Yung's brother doesn't just bring fame, it brings danger. That smoke doesn't fade, and it doesn't miss. It's been blowing heavy for years, aimed not only at YoungBoy himself, but at anyone who dares to stand next to him. If you share his DNA, if you wave that NBA flag, that target's on your back too. That includes BWay Yungy, their brother NBAOG3, and every single person who rides for the camp. Nobody's safe when the family name carries that much weight. These aren't just empty threats from internet tough guys typing behind screens. Not at all. These are real warnings coming from some of the most active and dangerous blocks in the country. This beef has already claimed lives on both sides, and everyone involved knows it's not a game. The people throwing those threats, they've proven time and time again that they'll stand on every word they say. No bluffing, no backpedaling, just real-world consequences. To really grasp what BWay Yungy walked into the moment he dropped that track, you gotta understand the war his brother's been stuck in for years. A war that traces all the way back to one deadly night in Atlanta that flipped the entire rap scene upside down. That's where things turned from rap tension to real-life tragedy. The friction between NBA YoungBoy's camp and the Chicago crew, Lil Durk, O-Block, OTF, all of them, didn't start from a diss track or slick words in an interview. Nah, it all began over a body. Back in November 2020, King Von, one of Chicago's sharpest storytellers and a proud voice of O-Block, was shot outside a nightclub in Atlanta and didn't make it. The smoke from that night pointed straight toward Quando Rondo, one of YoungBoy's closest friends and collaborators from day one. Quando and his team were right there in that confrontation that exploded into gunfire. And even though YoungBoy wasn't anywhere near Atlanta that night, the streets didn't care. People immediately drew a straight line from Quando Rondo back to NBA YoungBoy. And that connection sparked one of the deadliest rivalries hip-hop's ever seen. That's when everything flipped. The drama stopped being rap beef and turned into something way darker. This wasn't just two artists trading bars for clicks or clout anymore. This was real grief, real anger, and real street energy that doesn't fade away after a few weeks. King Von wasn't just another rapper from O-Block. He was their heartbeat, their storyteller, the one who turned every loss, every scar, and every bit of pride into music the world could feel. So when Von got taken out, it wasn't just a loss, it was personal. The people he left behind weren't looking to settle things in the booth. They wanted payback in the streets. That's when the situation exploded into what many started calling a full-on interstate gang war, a deadly web stretching from Baton Rouge to Atlanta to Chicago. Affiliates from both sides were catching shots meant for the set they repped, not even for them personally. Nobody was safe, and the tension was non-stop. Death threats became just another part of daily life. Diss tracks turned into loaded weapons, every new release slicing deeper and drawing new battle lines that couldn't ever be erased. And when NBA YoungBoy decided to jump in, he didn't hold back for a second. He dropped bars that made it crystal clear, no room for misunderstanding. He rapped about, "Oh block pack get rolled up," basically saying he was smoking on King Von's memory, treating Von's death like something to brag about. Then came another line about an Atlanta boy get fold up, a cold and direct reference to how Von got dropped that night. These weren't hidden shots or clever wordplay. These were open challenges, built to provoke the most violent reaction possible from people who were already ready to slide. And sure enough, the response that came next was exactly what everyone feared. O-Block members didn't hold back. They got on camera burning green flags, the signature color of YoungBoy's 4KT crew, stomping them out right in front of the world. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't symbolic, it was a straight-up declaration of war. The message couldn't have been clearer. This ain't rap beef anymore. This is personal. And now, it wasn't just about YoungBoy, it was about everyone connected to him. Lil Durk, who was more than just King Von's mentor, basically his big brother in the game, responded to YoungBoy's taunts with a calmness that was somehow more chilling than straight anger. When YoungBoy dropped bars like "You gon' die," Dirk didn't shout or rant. His only reply was a cold post that said, "Hurry up." Then he hopped on Instagram Live, sitting right in front of a huge portrait of King Von, staring dead into the camera in silence. He didn't say a single word, but the silence said everything. He wasn't scared. He was ready. But the issue with beefs like this is they never stay contained. They spread like wildfire, pulling in everybody near the main players. What started as tension between YoungBoy and Dirk quickly turned into a full-blown battle that swallowed their entire circles. O-Block affiliates started sending warnings not just to YoungBoy, but to his whole camp, his brothers, his friends, even his collaborators like Quando Rondo. Nobody with NBA ties was off limits. During interviews, O-Block voices like Dirky opened up about the mindset fueling their side, a mindset built off loss, revenge, and loyalty. They talked about losing people like Muwop, DQ, and Young, how every funeral stacked another reason to ride, to spin back, to even the score. This wasn't the kind of feud that cooled down with time. It was an open wound that just kept tearing wider. Every new diss track, every IG post, every tour announcement turned into another spark tossed straight into a powder keg. And every time someone lit a match, the streets held their breath, wondering who'd get caught next. The people sending those threats made one thing absolutely clear. Their crosshairs weren't just locked on YoungBoy. They were coming for anyone tied to him. NBA OG 33, YoungBoy's own brother, even came out publicly to speak on it, breaking down just how serious the situation had gotten. He confirmed that the threats weren't random. They were aimed straight at the whole NBA camp, including blood family like himself and BWay Yungy. These weren't empty words from faceless accounts online. The threats were connected to real individuals with ties to Lil Durk's circle and King Von's old stomping grounds. And OG3 didn't try to play it down. He kept it 100. He said straight up that these weren't trolls behind screens. These were real people with real street ties, and their messages carried serious weight. The NBA family wasn't just hearing rumors. They were getting warnings that were too real to ignore, and they had no choice but to address it publicly in front of the world. That's the storm BWay Yungi walked right into when he came home. A war that had been raging for over 5 years with no truce, no pause, and no end in sight. He was born into a bloodline that came with a target stitched onto his back before he even picked up a mic. And when he decided to chase music, that spotlight only made him easier to find, putting him right where his brother's enemies wanted him most. By then, the feud had already produced everything from death threats and revenge tracks to burned flags, online intimidation, and real-life shootouts that left people from both sides in caskets. But things were about to take an even darker turn, a move that showed the world just how far YoungBoy's rivals were willing to go to make their point. When NBA YoungBoy announced his tour stop at Chicago's United Center, right in the heart of his enemy's backyard, the response from O-Block and their affiliates came fast and furious. The hostility was instant, and it was clear. Chicago wasn't about to let that show go down peacefully. They saw it as straight-up disrespect. YoungBoy, the man whose crew was linked to King Von's death, announcing a performance right in Von's city on O-Block's own turf, that move hit deep, and the streets weren't about to let it slide without sending a loud, deadly message. The threats toward the Chicago show came from every direction. O-Block affiliates didn't sugarcoat a thing. They made it crystal clear that if YoungBoy dared to step foot on that United Center stage, he might not make it out alive. These weren't cryptic posts or sneak disses. This was raw, open talk. One message that started circulating online said, "I bet you all type of money, right? If YB come to that show, they not leaving Chicago, I promise." That line alone had people shook, because everyone knew it wasn't just talk, and the danger didn't stop with YoungBoy. The warning stretched out to anyone tied to him, Quando Rondo, BWay Yungy, OG33, or anybody else repping the NBA camp who might pull up that night. The vibe around the concert was heavy, the kind of tension that makes you look over your shoulder every few seconds. But it went even further than online threats and social media flexing. According to someone who claimed to have inside info on what went down behind the scenes, the situation got so serious that the venue itself had to step in.
What really happened was why YB ended up canceling the show is because it was a lot of death threats being sent to the United Center.
Real death threats were reportedly sent directly to the United Center, not vague tweets or anonymous DMs, but actual calls made to the building. Those calls spelled out exactly what would happen if YoungBoy dared to hit that stage. And it was enough to make everyone involved realize this wasn't entertainment anymore. This was a matter of survival.
People was actually calling the United Center. People was actually calling United Center and letting them know, like,
People weren't just talking online anymore. They were calling the venue directly. Real calls, real voices, leaving messages that left zero room for misunderstanding about what would happen if that show went down. These weren't vague warnings or hidden threats. They were clear, detailed, and deadly serious.
if this show happened, it's gonna go down up there. It was a lot of little fake death threats and like that actually going on, like, you feel me? So, like I told y'all before, King Von, he had a lot of fans. He got a lot of enemies too, and he got a lot of people that, you feel me, that like YB. He got a lot of people that like YB like they like him. But the thing is, like, this his city.
The United Center was basically being told, if you host that show, there will be consequences. Now here's where things really get wild. YoungBoy didn't back out. He never wanted to. According to the same inside source, YoungBoy was locked in and ready to go. He wanted to walk right into the Lion's Den, hit that stage, and give his fans a performance they'd never forget, no matter who had a problem with it. That's how confident, or maybe how defiant, he was feeling. But at the end of the day, the decision wasn't his to make.
You had it was a lot of motherfucking death threats that was called in the United Center. Don't be out here acting like YB backed out of this shit. It wasn't YB decision to do it. Let's say that. It was his label decision.
The label stepped in and pulled the plug, and the United Center backed it up. Both sides met at the very last minute and agreed that the risk level was way too extreme to move forward.
YB didn't cancel the show. The label and the United Center, they came together.
The whole event got shut down before it could even start. Not because YoungBoy was scared, but because the danger had gone way beyond music. The label and the venue came together and shut the whole thing down completely. And when it came down to why, it all boiled down to two things: money and safety.
And they made this decision at the last minute because it was death threats coming through the United Center about if YB did the show, that it was gonna go down up there, and you feel me? And the United Center didn't want to have to pay for extra security. You know what I'm saying?
The financial side alone was wild. Reports say YoungBoy was locked in to make somewhere between $600,000 to $700,000 just for that one performance. Serious bread. But as the threats kept piling up from every corner, the label told the United Center they'd need to beef up security big time if they wanted to move forward.
We gonna need y'all to beef up on the security and shit like that, right? The United Center didn't want to do it.
That's when the United Center ran the numbers, and they weren't feeling it. They were already locked in for YoungBoy's massive payout, but now they were being asked to throw even more cash on top, bringing in extra security, hiring on-duty police, setting up metal detectors, surveillance, the whole nine. It got to the point where the security setup would have looked less like a concert and more like a presidential lockdown.
They told the label that whoop the bam, like, if we got to do all of this, it's getting to the point where we ain't making no money if this man, if we got to beef up.
At that stage, the math and the risk just didn't add up. The venue was already bleeding money before the doors even opened. Between YoungBoy's massive performance check, the heavy-duty security setup, and the cost of having uniformed officers posted all around the arena, all of it was coming straight out of the United Center's pocket. Every new layer of protection meant another bill, and the numbers were stacking faster than they could count. At some point, the math just stopped making sense.
So we already done paid this man $600,000-$700,000. Now we gotta beef up security, and we gotta have on-duty police officers here. Y'all know how much this shit costing us?
The money going out was way higher than anything coming in, and that's before things took an even darker turn. Then came the moment that pushed everything over the edge. The threats weren't just random online noise anymore. They got personal, direct, and deadly serious. Memo, a well-known O-Block affiliate, jumped in an interview and dropped a statement that sent shockwaves through everybody involved in the show.
Like, they get the call and up there, and it was those motherfucking interviews when Memo jumped his ass up on that interview and he said it's gonna be a fan that walk up on YB and he got a bomb strapped to him.
The second his words hit the internet, the entire operation froze. It was clear. This was no longer business as usual. Memo's words were chilling. He mentioned something about a fan with a bomb strapped to him. That one statement lit a fuse nobody could put out. From that moment, chaos exploded. Real bomb threats started flooding in, with some even called directly to the United Center.
They started doing like bomb threats and shit at the United Center, to the United Center, blood. They was doing all type of shit like that, blood. They ended up canceling the show.
It wasn't just talk anymore. This was full-on crisis mode. And just like that, it was over. The show got shut down completely. Not because YoungBoy was scared, not because he didn't want to face the pressure, but because his enemies made it literally impossible for the concert to go down safely. Between the threats, the danger, and the sky-high costs, the risk became too big for anyone to handle. The call to cancel wasn't about fear. It was about survival and damage control. According to the same source, YoungBoy was furious when the decision came through.
His label canceled the show. He didn't cancel it. Right now, my source telling me right now that YB is pissed. They say YB pissed off right now.
He didn't fold, he didn't flinch, he just got overruled. And that right there says everything about who he is. The same fearlessness that pushed him to become one of the biggest names in the game is the same energy that would have had him standing center stage in Chicago. No hesitation, ready to perform right in the middle of enemy territory. YoungBoy knew exactly what kind of danger he was walking into. He understood that people in that crowd could have been strapped and ready. But the canceled Chicago show made one thing painfully clear to everyone in his camp. Those threats weren't just empty words online. They were organized, consistent, and powerful enough to shut down a major arena event in one of the biggest cities in the entire country. And that realization hit hard. Because if they could pull that off against YoungBoy himself, a superstar with millions in his pocket, top-tier security, and full label backing, then what chance did his little brother have? Bway Yungi had just come home from a bid trying to restart his life, and he didn't have the same money, protection, or spotlight his big brother had. That's the storm he dropped in this B under. Not just under the shadow of YoungBoy's fame, but under the shadow of his entire war. A war with a body count and a history of burned bridges that stretches across the map. To really understand the minefield BWay Yungi stepped into, you gotta understand one key thing about NBA YoungBoy himself. The man has a record of going scorched earth on nearly everybody who crosses his path. It's not just rival crews or opposing rappers. He's gone off on his own signees, clashed with his own family, and even gone toe-to-toe with fans who once rode for him like family. YoungBoy's world runs on intensity. Loyalty one day, chaos the next. And anyone tied to him ends up living inside that same wildfire, whether they asked for it or not. The result of all that chaos is a man, YoungBoy, who's got smoke coming at him from every direction imaginable. And right behind him stands his little brother, BWay Yungi, catching all the leftover heat just because they share the same bloodline. One of the clearest examples of how wild things can get around YoungBoy is what went down with No Cap. No Cap wasn't just another artist. He was signed to YoungBoy's label, Inside the Circle, and holding it down for 3 solid years. He repped the team heavy, always showing love and loyalty. But then, in late 2022, everything flipped over one tweet. A fan asked No Cap on Twitter when he was dropping new music with Top, "That's YoungBoy." No Cap gave what sounded like a respectful, harmless answer. He said he wanted to build his own lane first so folks wouldn't say he only blew up because of YoungBoy's cosign. Simple, right? But that one comment lit a fire. YoungBoy didn't take it lightly. He jumped straight on Instagram and started blasting No Cap in public. He called him a worker, saying the reason they didn't make music together was because he didn't rock with him like that anymore. Then he went even further, saying No Cap actually pays him, basically painting the picture that even being on YoungBoy's label meant you had to pay tribute instead of being treated like a real partner. When No Cap tried to defend himself, reminding everyone how loyal he'd been, how he held things down for 3 years while YoungBoy was dealing with his own issues, YoungBoy just doubled down. He clowned him online, called him broke, brought up tax problems, and started throwing personal business into the mix. It was a brutal reminder that in YoungBoy's world, loyalty doesn't always protect you. Sometimes it just gives him more to use against you. The fallout with No Cap wasn't some rare fluke. It was part of a pattern that everybody in the streets had already caught on to. Word was, the real reason YoungBoy turned on No Cap wasn't about music at all. It was because No Cap refused to jump into YoungBoy's long-running war with Lil Durk. And in YoungBoy's world, staying neutral is the same thing as picking the other side. If you ain't stepping into battle with him, then as far as he's concerned, you're standing against him. That mindset doesn't just create new enemies out of rivals. It turns old friends into ops. The same exact thing went down with Moneybagg Yo. Back in 2017, the two were close enough to drop an entire collab tape together. Fans thought it was the start of a powerhouse duo, but almost right after the project dropped, YoungBoy flipped the script out of nowhere. He hopped on IG and started dissing both the tape and Moneybagg himself. No warning, no reason, no clear trigger, just pure, unpredictable energy that left everyone confused. What started as creative chemistry turned into full-blown hostility, and it didn't stop online. Reports say YoungBoy's crew and Moneybagg's people ended up getting into a fight at a mall not long after things fell apart. One minute they were collaborators, the next they were swinging. That's how fast loyalty can crumble in YoungBoy's circle. Then came the wild moment with DJ Flip. A producer, Boozy, had linked up with YoungBoy to use one of his studios. DJ Flip slid through, got comfortable, chilling on the couch with his girl, getting ready to record. Everything seemed smooth until it was time to hit the booth. That's when he turned to YoungBoy and said one word that changed the whole vibe in seconds.
Wait, hold on. Why did he kick you out the studio?
Bro, I don't know what he was on that day. I f with him heavy though. So Boosie's like, yo, Flip, I need a studio.
Boozy was the one who set everything up. The studio, the session, the whole vibe. DJ Flip got all the equipment ready, lined up the beats, and made sure everything was locked in.
Boom, boom, pulled up, got the studio ready for him. And then YoungBoy pulled up and then he wanted to record and
Then YoungBoy pulled up, and what happened next perfectly summed up who he is and how he moves.
he just like looking mad. He's cuddling on the couch with his girl and then he's about to record and he's like,
He walked in, looked dead at DJ Flip, the man whose studio he was sitting in, the same studio that had been set up just to help him, and hit him with one cold word.
and he's like, exit. He looked at me and said, exit.
Exit. No. Hey bro, can we get a minute? No. My bad, give us a sec. Just exit. Straight, raw, and disrespectful. That's the kind of energy YoungBoy carries. Blunt to the point of being ruthless, even toward people who go out of their way to help him. But then came the move that crossed a line even by YoungBoy's wild standards, going at Lil Durk's longtime partner, India Royale. During their heated 2022 diss track exchange, YoungBoy didn't keep it between himself and Durk. He dragged India right into the middle of it, calling her out by name in I Hate YoungBoy, dropping bars that left no room for confusion about what he meant. Then, when Durk and India later split and a video of her dancing started making the rounds online, YoungBoy saw it as another chance to stir the pot. He jumped on social media and tweeted, LOL, I know how it be when that turned to a demon, mocking both of them in front of the entire internet. India wasn't about to stay quiet though. She clapped back fast. She told YoungBoy straight up to keep her name out his mouth, reminding him that she let it slide the first time, but that Durk is still her child's father and she doesn't play when it comes to him. The back and forth turned messy fast, showing just how far YoungBoy's feuds can reach, even into people's personal lives. YoungBoy's response was classic top, raw, unfiltered, and dangerous. He fired back saying, I know one thing, you ain't gonna be playing with me. Basically warning India that things could get ugly for her too if she kept speaking on him. That moment showed exactly what kind of energy drives YoungBoy. Confrontation without limits, disrespect without hesitation, and zero fear about the fallout. He says and does whatever crosses his mind, no matter who gets caught in the blast. Not just himself, but everyone around him. And that reckless pattern shows up everywhere. He even kicked his own mom out of the house he bought her after she went live on Instagram. Straight family drama, no hesitation. Then there was the time his own DJ got stomped out backstage at a show in Florence, South Carolina, by YoungBoy and Quando Rondo themselves. No clear reason, just pure emotion. The DJ ended up with a busted tooth and injuries bad enough to take the whole situation to court. Even his concerts have become known for chaos. Reports say fans have managed to sneak weapons inside venues, turning shows into potential disaster zones. The same type of danger that later played a big part in the Chicago cancellation. Every time something like that happens, another name gets added to the long list of people holding grudges against YoungBoy. Every bridge he burns turns into another possible threat. But here's the part that really hits home. Those threats don't just fall on him. They fall on the people standing closest to him. And the one person closest of all, the one who looks up to YoungBoy like both a brother and a father, is BWay Yungy. BWay didn't ask for any of this. He didn't sign up for YoungBoy's enemies, his endless feuds, or the smoke coming out of Chicago. He just wanted to make music and find his own path. But being tied by blood means inheriting every piece of the storm that comes with carrying that YoungBoy name. When you share YoungBoy's blood, choice don't even matter. You're in the war whether you asked for it or not. The moment you drop a track, spit those aggressive drill bars, and carry the NBA name on your back, it's like stepping into a room full of people who've been waiting for a reason to come at you. That's the cost of being family in YoungBoy's world. Loyalty comes with a price tag, and that price is heavy. The violence that circles around NBA YoungBoy's name isn't just rap talk, it's real life, with names, dates, and real consequences that stretch way past the booth or the stage. It bleeds into personal lives, tearing through families and friends whose only mistake was being close to one of the most controversial rappers of his generation. Even YoungBoy's own relationships haven't been safe from the chaos. His baby mama, Arcola, reportedly got run up on by two of his other girlfriends while she was holding their child. That whole situation had nothing to do with beefs, sets, or diss records. It was the madness of YoungBoy's personal life spilling out into the real world, with hands being thrown between the mothers of his kids. Then there's what his own mother confirmed, that YoungBoy sent one of his baby mamas $1 million, and instead of peace, it sparked even more drama. She allegedly took his son and daughter and disappeared, vanishing right into the middle of a heated custody war. That just added another messy layer to an already fractured family dynamic that's constantly in the public eye. And it doesn't even stop there. The threats stretch beyond the people who actually know YoungBoy. One O-Block affiliate reportedly threatened to tie up a little kid, a child, whose only crime was being a fan of YoungBoy's music. The kid had no ties to the beef, no connection to the streets, no part in any of it, just a fan vibing to the songs. That's how deep and distorted this war has gotten, where even innocent listeners can end up getting caught in the crossfire of YoungBoy's never-ending chaos. That's how deep the hate runs. It don't stop at rivals, it don't stop at the crew. It reaches kids, complete strangers, and anybody who can be used as a pawn to hurt the real target. That's how twisted this whole war has become. So what does all that mean for BWay Yungy? It means when he dropped In This B, it wasn't just a song or a comeback move, it was a statement. Whether he meant it or not, he was declaring to the world that he lives in the same universe as his brother, carries the same name, and walks under the same dangerous spotlight that follows NBA YoungBoy everywhere he goes. That song wasn't just music. It was a reminder that BWay Yungy is part of that same story, part of that same fire. He's got the same raw sound, the same energy, and the same bloodline that the ops have been targeting for years. And in a world where being connected to YoungBoy paints a bullseye on your back, stepping up to the mic is basically stepping into the line of fire. The beef between YoungBoy's camp and the Chicago faction has already left bodies on both sides, homies gone, associates laid out, and families living under constant threat. Major concerts have been canceled, real lives have been lost, and every new song, post, or public move from anyone tied to NBA instantly becomes another spark waiting to explode. And BWay Yungy knows all of this. He's watched it unfold in front of his own eyes since he was young. The violence, the fame, the paranoia, the pressure. He's seen his brother rise into one of the most streamed artists on the planet while at the same time becoming one of the most targeted men in the rap industry. He's seen OG3 go public about the non-stop threats their family receives, the kind of danger that never sleeps. So when BWay dropped In This B, he wasn't just making music. He was stepping right into a storm he's been watching build his entire life, knowing full well what kind of fire comes with carrying that YoungBoy name. BWay Yungy didn't just watch the chaos. He lived it. He faced the legal system himself, staring down his own murder charge, and still walked out those gates determined to do exactly what his brother told him to do. Make music. YoungBoy had drilled it into him for years. You the sickest, you go stupid, you the one. Those words stuck. BWay believed him because he always has. Ever since they were young, growing up with no father around, leaning on each other because nobody else had their back like that. When BWay dropped In This B, it wasn't just another track. It was pure aggression, confrontation, and attitude. The kind of music that goes crazy in the streets. The kind of song that makes people feel something real. But it's also the exact kind of energy that paints a bigger target on your back, especially when your brother's enemies are watching your every move. The snippet of the track that hit social media spread fast, clips everywhere, blogs picking it up, fans reacting, ops lurking. And in YoungBoy's world, that kind of attention is a double-edged sword. It brings the bag, but it also brings the danger. Every view, every repost, every headline adds another layer of heat. And just like that, the warnings started popping up again. Messages floating around online from people tied to O-Block affiliates, filled with coded threats like, "It's gonna rain at that show." Everyone in the culture knows what that means. It's not about weather, it's about gunfire. Those threats weren't just aimed at YoungBoy anymore, they were aimed at everybody carrying that NBA name. The crew, the brothers, the family, The whole bloodline. For BWay Yungy, that means every bar he spits, every move he makes, and every post he drops comes with risk. Because in this game, being YoungBoy's brother means you don't just inherit the fame, you inherit the war. Everyone who carries that NBA name walks with the same weight on their shoulders. When BWay Yungy dropped his first track after his prison bid, he wasn't stepping into some warm, welcoming industry waiting to celebrate a new artist. Not even close. He was stepping straight into a battlefield. The same 5-year war that's consumed his brother's life, torn apart relationships, crushed careers, and left real people in caskets. He released In This Be, knowing exactly what kind of world he was walking back into. The same people who called bomb threats into the United Center. The same ones who went viral burning 4KT flags for the whole world to see. And the same enemies who swore YoungBoy wouldn't make it off that Chicago stage alive. Those exact people now had another target in their sights. Him. This wasn't just a song drop. It was an announcement that another YoungBoy was outside. And that came with all the heat attached. What was supposed to be BWay's return to music instantly became something way bigger. The newest chapter in a story soaked in danger, loyalty, and bloodlines. Because that's what defines the NBA legacy. It's never just about music. It's about family ties, enemies who don't forget, and a world where every beat and every lyric could spark another wave of violence. And now, within this BWay Yungy didn't just drop his debut track. He stepped right into the center of the same storm that's been following his brother since day one. This saga ain't about fame, streams, or money. It's about survival. In this world, the cost of being family isn't counted in dollars. It's counted in threats, canceled shows, and caskets. It's the cold truth that no matter how far you run or how high you climb, the enemies your brother made will always remember your name. That's the weight that comes with being tied to NBA YoungBoy. It's a legacy built on loyalty, pain, and non-stop pressure. YoungBoy told his little brother he was the sickest. He told him to go all in, to never back down, to own the spotlight like he was born for it. And BWay Yungy listened. He dropped his track, stepped into the light, and now the whole world's watching his next move. So here's the question. After everything that's gone down, all the smoke, all the chaos, and all the eyes locked on him, should YoungBoy move differently now or double down and keep pushing the same fearless energy he's always had? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment if you're rocking with the story. Hit that next video on your screen for more wild breakdowns just like this one.